Hello and welcome to Vocal Intuition Live. I hope you're having a good week so far, despite the gloomy weather and the rain, and that your work's going well for you as well. I'm Anne Leatherland and I'm a vocal trainer and personal growth coach, and I work with professional voice users. So that's anyone who uses their voice as a substantial part of their business or their job. And of course, that can be performing people, but also people in business. We all use our voices an awful lot, don't we, from day to day? And I've been thinking this week about the return to in-person events, in-person networking, and the difference that that's going to make to the way that we speak and the way that we use our voices. If you're out there watching, please do make yourself known and say hello. I'd love you to comment and let me know what you're thinking as we go along. Maybe ask questions if you have any. And the same goes for if you're watching the replay afterwards. Do pop a comment into the box and I'll get back to you. So first of all then, we've spent 18 months, nearly 2 years, in various lockdowns and doing a lot of work online. And of course, many of us are still doing that work online, but things are starting to open up. And I've been going to an in-person networking group for the first time in a while. And I had this thought that I would like to share these ideas with you. So first of all, it's very different. There are very different demands on you as a person, actually, and on your voice when you're in person. You've probably got used to sitting in front of the screen and making sure that you're not speaking too loudly, and then it's all a little bit more intimate, and leaving time for people to get a word in edgeways because of the famous lag on the online broadcasts. But once we're back in person, what happens? Well, more people speak at once for a start. There is no lag. And so the energy is very, very different. And we're having to really adapt to that again. We absorb people's energy differently when they're in the room as opposed to when they're on a screen. And if you've got used to working on the screen, you will suddenly notice this. It might even make you feel a little bit nervous, beyond the difficulties that we've had with COVID and the risks and everything. It can be a bit strange to suddenly be in a room with quite a lot of people again. And that's because of that energy that we pick up from other people. There's the pace of what's going on as well. It tends to be a lot quicker. People will speak more quickly. They'll speak all at once. You might be in a small group and in a noisy room, which I'll say more about in a moment. But you have to think in a different way in order to actually stay engaged with the people that you're speaking with. You're listening all the time in a different way. You're picking up cues, visual and also verbal cues, and then giving them to the other people. Again, in a way that we can't really do over the internet on a screen. And you will have all adapted to that, I'm sure, with networking online. And I'm still doing some of that, and I really like that for the convenience. But every now and again, it's good to be with a few other people. As I say, if you're watching, do make yourself known. I'd love to hear from you. But let's have a think about some of the pitfalls and then how we can overcome them in the course of this short live broadcast. So first of all, I've already mentioned it, there's speaking over noise. There tends to be noise at networking meetings, especially at the beginning when everybody's together and you're just chatting to people and you're getting to know them and forming those relationships. So obviously there will be the other voices of the people that you're speaking with. You might be standing in a small group of 3 or 4 or sitting in a small group, sharing a cup of tea and chatting. But there will be noise from the other people in the room. And depending on the venue, there'll also be noise maybe from other rooms or from outside. And that can be very distracting. It only takes one distraction for you not to truly listen to what somebody says, and then you can't really interact with them fully. And you want them to be able to hear you as well. The room acoustic is something to think about. Is it an echoey room? That can cause havoc when lots of people speak. Or is it a sort of dead acoustic where what you say doesn't travel very far? Either way, you'll have to adapt to what you do. All of this can affect your message and the way that people receive it and respond to you in the long term. And then you can think about, are you too loud? Are you too quiet? There are subliminal messages we give with the tone and the volume and the pitch and the pace of our voice that people will pick up on, and they'll respond to us accordingly. So let's move on and think about your 60 seconds next then. Again, it's different in person. You may have got used to putting something on the screen so that you can have a guide to what you're saying in the online networking. I know that I do. It makes life a bit easier. Some groups don't mind if you hold a bit of paper, and other groups prefer you to do your 60 seconds sort of off the top of your head. Although we all know it shouldn't really be off the top of your head. It should be practiced and honed so that you can really get your message across. This is your time to shine after all. So you may suffer from some nerves when you go back into that, or maybe it's something that gives you nerves anyway, a little bit of stage fright. I think if you're reading, you need to think about, does it hamper my message, or can I do it in a way that I can sound engaging and natural and people can understand the message that I'm trying to get across? Is my voice interesting? Do I vary what I say enough? Do I make pauses so that people can process what I'm saying? So reading or not, actually, all of these things rather, are important in terms of putting your 60 seconds across. And in fact, you could spend whole courses on how to do a good 60-second pitch. I'm still trying to perfect mine, so it's a work in progress. And I think that's the thing. If you find that something works, keep it in. If you find that saying it in a certain way, with a certain tone of voice and pace works, then keep it in. If you suffer from that little bit of nervousness, then there are things that you can do, which I'll mention in just a minute or two. Let's have some top tips then to help you with these problems. Just to recap: speaking over noise, finding a different mental and body energy to meet the people that you are with so that you can fully engage with them, making your voice work for that situation so that you're not too loud or too quiet, and being able to cope with the 60 seconds where you tell people what it is you do and what it is you need from them. And that's your chance to really get that message across. Top tips then. First of all, your voice is a living thing. It's a part of your body and it depends on muscles and physical systems, just like other parts of your body. And I just want you to have a think. If you're the type to go to the gym and look after your body, then do you look after your voice? The chances are that if you're not a professional speaker, singer, or actor, then maybe you don't. And I want to say that really you should. It's something that we don't think about, but we can take for granted. That is, until it doesn't work. So have a think about your voice. It's actually one of your top marketing assets, one of your top business assets if you use it well. So warm it up, learn how to do that. Inhale a bit of steam in the mornings. Yes, seriously, just from hot water, get that steam in through the mouth and nose if you like, but it will get down into the airway and onto the vocal folds, or cords as we used to call them, and keep them moist and able to work very efficiently. We very often dry ourselves out during the day, so steam is a definite one, as well as sipping water as well. Move around because the energy is different. If you want to sound enthusiastic and energized, it's no good if you're slumping in a chair and not really getting connected with that feeling. Your voice and your body need energy, and moving around is a good way to get it. So literally limber up before you go to the networking. Learn to use the resonance of your voice and not push the voice itself. The resonance is everything that happens above the voice box, if you like, in the vocal tract. in the airway, in the mouth, sometimes in the nose. But we can add a little bit of edge to the voice, like I'm doing now, which will carry much more easily in a busy room than this voice will. And it's very easy to do. You just need a little bit of know-how. There are lots of options for resonance. And you might be thinking, oh, well, you sound a bit strange when you do that. Well, I do in this situation. But if I happen to be in a very busy room with lots of noise and voices, that sound would cut through and people wouldn't hear it the same way. Slow down. If you can, stand up to do your 60 seconds if nobody minds that. It enables you to get connected with your body and your breath much more effectively. And it will help with any nervousness that you may have if you can do that. While you're about it, get in touch with your own vocal and body energy. It's useful to calibrate it. How much body energy, how much voice energy do I need for this situation in comparison to when I'm sitting in front of a screen networking? Measure it like this if you like. In front of the screen might be this much. When I'm networking in a medium-sized room, it might be this much. In a bigger room, I might need this much. Something as simple as that, a visual, just that you keep in your mind's eye so that you can apply your voice to whatever situation that you're in. Hi, James. Thank you for joining me. It's nice to have somebody here. It's really good to see you here this afternoon. Then, of course, there's breathing deeply, and that means letting go of the abdominal wall and really letting the air get into the lower part of the lungs. So just sipping in that air, no shoulder raising, no tension, and then let it out. A couple of deep breaths before you start really helps. Of course, there's a lot we can do with the breath and the body in speaking, and that's something that I teach. But certainly a nice deep breath or a couple of deep breaths just to start with will really set you up for that 60 seconds. Just notice for a moment that a deep breath isn't this. We tend to say, don't we, in English, breathe in when we mean to squeeze through a small gap, and that's some of the problem. That's not what we do to breathe deeply and breathe in deeply. We let everything go, get big around the middle, and take it low down into the body. Use your eye contact and your facial expression. Believe it or not, your facial expression can change the way that your voice comes out. James knows all about this one because he's worked with me. But if you're smiling, hello, how are you, will come out. If you're just hangdog in your expression, then hello, how are you, will come out. It's very difficult to sound engaged and authentic if your face is completely switched off. And actually, this is what people tend to do when they read their 60 seconds. They switch off their face and the sound starts to be a bit like this so that we don't get that proper engagement with the person. If you've got a paper, then hold it. People know you've got it. It's not a problem. Just hold it up in front of you. About there, so you can just glance down at it. Not down here, so that you've got to tip the whole head and squeeze your voice box into the bargain, but just at a reasonable distance and a reasonable height. And if you've practiced, just use the paper as a guide. You don't need to be slavishly stuck with it. So there we go. Those were my top tips for dealing with this crossover into in-person networking again. If this has resonated with you and you'd like to know more about some of the things I've mentioned, then please do get in touch. I offer a free discovery call if you'd like one, and we can get to know each other and see if I can give you some tips to help you in your situation. I also, of course, do one-to-ones, workshops and courses. And I might as well get a plug-in for my next course, which happens to be starting in January, at the end of January now, around the 26th. But that gives you time to think about it and have a look in your diary if it's something that might interest you in terms of learning to speak in business. But today was actually just about giving you some top tips and hoping that this will be useful. And anyway, I'll be here in another couple of weeks with another topic. But as I've already said, if you're watching the recording, do please leave me a comment or a question and I'll get back to you. Thanks for joining me, James. Have you got any questions or further comments before I just go away? Doesn't look like it, but maybe you put something down later on. So thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.